Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, Judge, I see you backstage, but now I don't see you. I saw you, now I don't see you. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Okay, now I see you, Judge. Okay. Happy Monday. I'm tired, and I think it's because of daylight savings. Time went up an hour yesterday, this past Sunday, and today I'm just tired. I just want to take a nap. I don't know if it's because of my age. I don't know. I'm just tired. But anyway, we're going to have a good show. I'm about to bring the judge up so we can get right into it. So please share, like, subscribe, hit the bell button to get all notifications. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Roger that.
Okay. I can hear and I could see you. How are you?
I feel energized. You don't like daylight saving time? That means right now, instead of it operating as it is, I feel an hour earlier. Yeah.
I'm just tired. I don't know why. I just feel tired.
Stop doing what you've been doing.
I haven't been doing
Stay
anything.
off the phone.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just trying to I'm like, cuz first thing come to mind with me is, okay, what's wrong? Something is wrong. Like I always think like sometimes the worst. Like what is wrong? Is it cancer? Am I sick or something? But
It's like your car starts sputtering, and then you look down and you see the gas gauge, you're almost out of your tank, or you need to get it serviced, or your tire pressure is low. It's called AGE.
maybe I didn't sleep well. Usually I take magnesium at night because that helps me sleep, and that's probably what it was. I didn't get a good sleep, so I don't know. I just need to be better with my regimen, maybe. Um, but listen, so we have a really good show. Of course, we have to talk about U.S. Iran, Fulton County election corruption. But I wanted to start off with Jesse Jackson Jr. Because he called out the former presidents that attended one of many funerals for Reverend Jackson Sr. And it was Friday. Biden, Obama, Kamala, Al Sharpton, Jamal Bryan, all these people got up there and talked, and they made it political. So I want to start off playing the clip of Jesse Jackson. Now, mind you, when his father first passed away, he did a press conference and said, "This is not about politics. I don't want to hear nothing about Republican, Democrats. Leave your politics basically at home." But the
They
three
didn't.
they did, and the Three Stooges did not. And so this is what he said Saturday at the funeral of family and stuff. I'm just gonna play first minute.
Day, yesterday, I listened for several hours of three United States presidents who do not know Jesse Jackson. He maintained a tense relationship with the political order, not because the presidents were white or black, but the demands of our message, the demands of speaking for the least of these, those who were disinherited, the damned, the dispossessed, the disrespected, demanded not Democratic or Republican solutions, but demanded a consistent, prophetic voice that at no point in time ever sold us out as a people. And it speaks volumes about who the Reverend Jesse Jackson was.
So I'm not gonna play the whole 18 minutes, but this is basically essentially what he,
Yeah,
said.
it was great. And it's right exactly on point. Jackson was not close to any of them. Clinton was a factor to be dealt with because he was and is who he is. Obama's the one that the open mic caught Reverend Jackson saying he needs his balls cut off for telling a lie, an absolute lie,
Mhm.
about black men being the worst in the country, about paying child support. And Reverend Jackson and I had sat next to each other on an airplane for 3.5 hours discussing the fact that he was aware of, I was aware of, and everybody else that keeps the records and looks at them is aware of. Black American males pay their child support better than any other demographic. And they, at this man's funeral, said very little to nothing about him.
Mhm.
And they badmouthed someone, Donald Trump, who had done him many a favor in the past and on whom he had an up and down a relation with whom he had an up and down relationship with, but at least the man had done something for him in life other than the others who pimped him. And then I guess we've got Chicken George Al Sharpton who comes in there. He wasn't the worst, but I think he's got a lifetime problem that he never caught up to where Jesse Jackson was. And then we've got that fake Kamala Imhoff, aka Kamala Harris, that's her maiden but not married name. She just went overboard on trying to assume and usurp something she had little connection with,
Mhm.
except remotely, and that's been her life. So it was, I'll say, unsettling because if I expressed what I'm really thinking, it'd be rather profane.
I wanna play a couple of clips of these, I'm calling them the stooges getting up there, making these political remarks.
Are you playing anything?
Oh, you don't hear nothing? Sorry.
Nothing. I
Oh,
thought I was looking over there was a lightning strike over here, so I was wondering
yeah,
if that was it, but I don't
sorry about that.
hear anything.
So let me just say,
You hear that?
Yeah.
you know, so let me just say, I predicted a lot about what's happening right now. I'm not into saying I told you so, but we did see it coming. But what I did not predict is that we would not have Jessie Jackson with us right now to help us get through this.
That was her. I'm not gonna play the full 20.
Oh, that is disgusting. It has to be about her. She usurped Jesse Jackson like she usurped black folk. She's an Indian. By the way, that's what they're calling her again. Nothing wrong with Indians, but I can't hear him.
I didn't play it yet. I'm trying to find this other clip that I had here. Um, this is Jamal Bryant.
It was on a wintry night, January 6, 1919. Theodore Roosevelt died of an embolism coronary. When the word came back to the Vice President Meslin, he asked, how did he die? The answer responded back, he died in his sleep. Vice President Meslin said that makes sense because had he been awake, there would have been a fight. Jesse Jackson died in the middle of the night because had he been awake, there would have been a fight. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here because this is the first modern prophet in American history to prove to be bulletproof. This is the very first prophet that the government could not compromise and was able to stand. Those of you who are wondering why we have been here this long, the service wouldn't have been this long if we were able to go to the Capitol, but the Capitol is now only reserved for pedophiles and podcasters. We're in a critical moment in history. A critical moment in history where it is that we have to figure out what are we fighting for and all that we're running for.
So he's upset that Mike Johnson did not allow Jessie Jackson to what do you call that, lay in state at the Capitol. He
should be.
You saying he should have?
He should be upset that Johnson didn't let him use the Capitol. And he gave an apt description of the people that blocked it. It wasn't President Trump who helped Jackson out and supplied his headquarters for him free of charge on quite a few occasions. It was that Democrat leaning person who was wrong with what he did.
Who?
The people that blocked Jessie from being
laying state at the Capitol. I thought that it's only reserved for politicians.
No, it's not.
Okay. Well, my thing is, I'm kind of glad it did not happen because you had these people come up there making it political. So if he would have laid in state, that the whole thing would have been about anti-Trump, and it should be about his deeds.
Well, what usually happens is when somebody lies in state in a federal building, you have it well guarded, well ordered. You have the military there who are serving as the ushers, and they have their no-nonsense approach of how people move and where they're supposed to be. And if there are any remarks, they come later or in the chambers, maybe, of the particular governmental entity. It just wasn't right what they did with him. And I will say this, he wasn't exactly bulletproof, because part of the reason some of the woke crowd doesn't like him now was revealed in some of the memoranda that were in the James Earl Ray file in the case that I presided over, his last appeal. And it revealed internal FBI memoranda where they were discussing at great length how they would discredit the Reverend Jessie Jackson because they were worried about him becoming the new Martin Luther King for an altered social dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and they apparently succeeded because people think he's the villain. I'll say this, is the last judge on that James Earl Ray case, and that's the alleged assassin of Dr. Martin Luther King. Ray, one, didn't shoot King. Something else went on. And two, Jessie Jackson had absolutely nothing to do with it. I can state that without equivocation for the record.
I want to play this Obama clip. I'm not going to play the whole thing either with this one, but just a sense. And by the way, when I'm not going to play the clip when he was introducing, he gets up there and oh my God, those black people that's really on that Democrat plantation was hooping and hollering and somebody yelling out 4 more years. And he's like, no, I respect the Constitution. He get on my nerves.
We are living in a time when it can be hard to hope. Each day we wake up to some new assault on our democratic institutions. Another setback to the idea of the rule of law. An offense to common decency. Every day you wake up to things you just didn't think were possible. Each day we're told by those in high office to fear each other and to turn on each other, and that some Americans count more than others.
Can you stop it right there?
Don't even count at all.
Doesn't that sound just like what Biden and Harris and then Obama and Biden were running down during the entirety of their holding the Oval Office and the observatory?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about yourself, and what are you doing at a funeral where the deceased said you need your balls cut off for being a lying charlatan on an open mic?
Well, the same day after this celebration, Friday, because this took place Friday, he went on his X account and made an announcement that, hey guys, the Obama Library will be opening June the 16th in Chicago of this year. So he basically was using that opportunity to promote his BS library and be anti-Trump.
These Democrats are taking everything that a lot of noble black folk did when they were mostly Republican when they did it and trying to convert it to their use. Like they want to assume the mantle of dignity and righteousness that these pioneers had when they were dealing with real apartheid in the United States. Now let's see what Bozo's got to say.
This is only 42 seconds here.
Good.
That's well, I was a kid. I was a relatively good athlete, a pretty good student, but I stuttered to talk like that. Now, if I told you all earlier when I was a kid I had a cleft palate or a club foot, none of you would have laughed. But it's okay to laugh at stuttering. I'm not being critical of you, but think about it. It's the one place where people think you're stupid. Oh, really? I'm a hell of a lot smarter than most of you. But all kidding aside, it makes you feel really small. Makes you feel really small.
Put your hands together for the three presidents. President Bill Clinton, President Joe Biden, and the Southside's own President Barack Obama.
Oh, they claim it now.
The first thing I want to do is ask that we would all put our hands together and celebrate the Jackson family. Come on.
The head of it asked you not to do that, and you did it anyway. That's just plain low down. And now, where's Chicken George? I think he probably had the least offensive speech.
Oh, this ain't it. Yeah, I do have Chicken George.
Anybody doesn't know that Sharpton. Al.
Wait a minute. Where is it here? Oh no, it's
Chicken George was a character in one of Alex Haley's renditions of Roots. In case you don't know.
Chicken George bought his freedom in Roots.
Maybe.
Where's Al? Oh, here you go, right here.
But it sounds good.
The fake preacher.
Where's his pulpit?
He don't have one.
Oh, they made him a preacher at 8 years old. I forgot about that. What kind of congregation would have an 8-year-old for his preacher?
Right. Oh, all right, here you go.
We have problems.
To leave here and not follow an assignment would not be what Jessie Jackson taught us. But people at the same time are killing illegal immigrants. People at the same time cutting public funding. At the same time, Affordable Care Act is not being renewed and seniors have to deal with premiums. Well, here we are now. The problem is
Stop a second. These folk he's talking about are getting mistreated and taking jobs from folk that look like some of the people in the audience. They are about to go pull off 911 2.0. They're bringing in organized crime. What we're talking about is a perpetual addiction of the people who look like most of the people in that audience to welfare assistance instead of learning about free enterprise and going out and doing hard work. So, just what is this fool complaining about?
Right.
They're talking about, oh, they got all the power, we can't win. We got to win because they put the seeds of victory in us. If we just nurture them and grow, Hakeem Jeffries be the Speaker of the House. If we keep on winning,
Stop,
we'll
stop,
get
stop. The thought of that makes me want to vomit.
send it
Now,
back. If we keep winning, we can save health care for our grandmamas. If we keep winning, we can bring up.
Stop. These lying dogs here through the Biden administration, before that, Obama's administration, where he fronted off something somebody else did, have got me paying $14,800 a year for Medicare. Now, that is obscene. I was paying $1,672 for a group plan with a major medical insurance company, which would have been cheaper if it had been with a major insurance company that didn't specialize in medical insurance. You're a ripoff artist, asshole.
About criminal justice reform. If we keep winning, we can have two.
Oh, stop. Criminal justice reform. What? You have the highest crime rate in the history of this country inside the inner city that your folk, your blue ball folk, run because you're incompetent with your main task of delivering safe governance and a crime-free area filled with prosperity, purpose, law and order, dignity, morality, and ethics. And you can't do it.
Right.
The Congress, we didn't come this far to turn around now. But they getting ready to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country. But we were not free in 1776. It is not our celebration. We got here in 1619. We worked 246 years.
Stop a second. Crispus Attucks, one of the first persons to die in the American Revolution. A lot of American black folk fought with nobility, purpose, and achieved their freedom fighting in that revolution. There have always been black soldiers and sailors in the United States military services. You had the highest ranking officer in Colin Powell, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. You've got the Buffalo Soldiers, 761st Armored Regiment, 332nd Tuskegee Airmen, where they achieved excellence. They were at the top. 761st is the second highest decorated unit in the U.S. military history behind the Japanese sensei who had a division down in Italy. 332nd comes out of World War II, out of Europe, is the highest scoring Army Air Force pursuit group, fighter group. So the Buffalo Soldiers, 9th and 10th Cavalry, performed nobly. The black soldiers in the Civil War saved the Union, helped save it, and performed nobly. So exactly what is he talking about we have no stake in this country?
Got paid, but we are still here. I don't care what they do in Washington. I care what we do in the community. We beat people bigger than Trump. We fought people harder than them. If we
stop. Trump is a man. He pushes masculine dignity and masculine energy. You don't. And I've told you why I know he doesn't. We won't go into it, but let's just say that I resent this attack on masculinity, this girly boys in the girls' bathroom and the things that he's doing. I think it's bad for the country. If they practice it behind closed doors, that's First Amendment stuff. But other than that, okay, you need to take your little sissy program and go hide it someplace back in the shadows.
What we're supposed to be. Because of Jesse,
The Democratic Party changed its rules, ending the winner-take-all distribution of delegates during presidential primaries, which meant underdogs and outsiders like Bill Clinton or Bernie Sanders could stay competitive and build momentum instead of getting knocked out early.
Stop. You're lying, because the bottom line is that super delegate thing knocked that concept all the way into the dugout somewhere. It's a foul ball, so quit lying about it. Keep going.
It was because of that path that he had laid, because of his courage, his audacity, that 2 decades later, a young black senator from Chicago's South Side would even be taken seriously as a candidate for the presidential nomination.
Stop.
Each day we
Stop. Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, they kicked ass. They were black folk who were crashing the door on what they did. Jackie Robinson stole home base with 2 outs and Dodgers behind 1 run and tied it up. They went on and got the pennant. He didn't go to the back of the bus in 1943 outside of a military base in Texas. When they attempted to make him, he pulled his .45 out, and according to the testimony at his court-martial, said, "Some MF is going to die tonight besides me." You have all of these folk who really put it on the line, and you become the first one that looks like us to hold that Oval Office, and you didn't leave shit for a legacy. Just corruption, misdeeds, and trying to turn this country over to some people who need psychiatric assistance.
Wake up to some new assault on each other, and that some Americans count more than others, and that some don't even count at all. Everywhere we see greed and bigotry being celebrated, and bullying and mockery masquerading as.
So I wanted to play a little bit more of. I found another video of Alex.
Why didn't they talk about this man's history instead of this nonsense?
Well, because they kept trying to lump it with today's politics, what's going on. And
the man's son asked him, please don't do that.
So this is
rising to what he wanted us to be is the reason we are sitting on the brink of some of the most serious reconstruction behavior being rescinded that we've seen in modern times. To leave here and not follow an assignment would not be what Jessie Jackson taught us. To make us feel good, we went to Jessie Jackson's funeral, and that we said nice things about Mrs. Jackson, but people at the same time are killing illegal immigrants.
Yeah, we said that one.
He said, the point is they're killing us, fool. Are you a damn fool or just a fool, or pimp, pulpit pimp ass up there just trying to run a game?
But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson, and on Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery, or you died in the Atlantic. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago, and I reminded him, I said, remember when you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, well, we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris. We returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. We came back as global liberators. The problem is that too many of us did not join the movements that sponsored us. And there was a breakout in 2024 called Negro amnesia, where you forgot where you came from and forgot how you got where you got. Therefore, they're trying to take back everything you have.
Oh, that's sickening. Not one iota about how you get from point A to point B. You're supposed to go back. That old tired blue ball nonsense is revolting.
But here's the thing, Obama and Kamala Harris lineage never went through the door no return.
They had no connection at all, except, one of them's great-grandparents fought as officers for the Confederacy to keep his ancestors enslaved. This fool and every other one represents a party that was founded to promote and spread slavery in the 1820s. The one he's talking about belongs to a party that in 1851 was chartered to end slavery and its evil influences. Interesting juxtaposition. It seems to me like the slaves off of the Democratic run plantations back in the 1840s and 50s jumped in a time machine, got a little modernized, and here they are right now trying to justify loyalty to the masters, except it's not about King Cotton, it's about Queen Tranny Rainbow now.
Let me fast forward a little bit.
This far by faith, leaning on the Lord. Or they getting ready to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country, but we were not free in 1776. It is not our celebration. We got here in 1619. We worked 246 years and never got paid, but we are still here.
And that's not true, because there were some people that weren't slaves who were here before 1619. That's when one of the English aristocrats brought a pirated load of Negroes, meaning slaves that some Spanish had been importing from Africa to the southern Spanish colonies.
Right.
By faith. It was against the law to read and write. It was against the law to marry.
Excuse me. Stop. If it was against the law to learn to read and write under slavery, but at the end of the Civil War, Ulysses Grant, doing a survey of the Union Army, said that the only completely literate units in the Union Army were Negroes or black or colored volunteers, however you want to term it. Now, why is your party pushing a platform that makes the descendants of those folk completely ignorant, illiterate, and unaccomplished, and striving to get a welfare check? Not all of them, but too many of them.
By faith. I don't care what they do in Washington. I care what we do in the community. We beat people bigger than Trump.
Stop. And you're against law and order. And the number one cause of death outside of natural causes for black folk is us killing each other, and you don't want to do anything about that?
Right.
We fought people harder than them if we stand up and be what we're supposed to be. Private sector saying they're going to end diversity, equity, and inclusion. Sharp. We started Wall Street.
You didn't start Wall Street, fool.
Dealing with diversity. We did that. So you don't want
No, you didn't. Stop. And the point of the exercise right here is, how about if we talk about the policies you're trying to push and why you claim to be a preacher with no pulpit, but you seem to have now started to support what is preached against in, Leviticus 20:13. Explain yourself, you hypocrite.
Then don't have a diversified consumer base. So what I'm urging you to do is leave here with some Jackson fire in you. Not just a program book, but to say I see the things the way they are, but I'm going to turn and change them. Have some Jackie Jackson fire saying I'm going to raise my kids beyond your expectation.
All right, that's enough of that. He's full of
You
shit.
pimp. He's a pimp.
They're all pimps and hoes.
You said it this time.
And you were very nice today. You're being nice. As you know, we spoke
What?
earlier and you had some choice words and you didn't say those choice words in this segment. So you're being very nice today. You're being
And I
very,
didn't run on. I was very succinct and to the point.
yes.
That's what I do when I start taking care of business instead of start telling those tales that the youth need to hear when they sit around the bonfire so they understand what's happening with their circumstances. But you know, it gets me. They are illustrating classic propaganda tactics of accusing their adversaries of doing what they are up to. That's a Nazi. That's a communist tactic. Accuse your enemy of doing what you're doing to him.
Sorry. Well, I see. Wait, what is this? Jesus. I'm always pressing some type of damn button here. How do you get rid of this? Oh, wait a minute.
Some of them did something halfway decent. Bill Clinton came in before that thing got so deep into.
Oh, close this view. Okay, here we go. All right. So let's just move on to US Iran now. And I do see our guests.
Which is way beyond the competence of Obama boy and
Chicken George.
Chicken George and Biden and come Queen Harris.
Yeah, that's her name. Come Queen.
Come Queenla. Come Queenla.
Come Queenla, Chicken George. And what is Obama's nickname?
Bush Bunny.
Bush Bunny. Bush Bunny, Chicken George, Come Queenla. And what is Biden?
Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe. Yeah.
And then the combination is Joe in the hole.
Joe in the hole. See, now it's starting to come out a little bit. So let's go to the next.
I can't help it. Greetings, young man.
How you doing? How you doing?
Sergeant Omar.
How you doing?
Sergeant, hi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Listen, so I want to play this clip. I wanted you to come on because you are retired Marine, correct?
Not retired, but I did my 4 active years and decided to walk away.
So that would be retired, right? You retired?
No, honorable discharge. Retire is retired. You know, 20 years, 30 years, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't get a pension?
I get something.
Okay.
I get something.
Veterans benefits.
You know, I get something.
All right. Well, listen, what is this? Day 10 of the US-Iran war. And, you know, this is the question that people have a lot of opinions, you know, about. And I'll put the question in the chat, you know, should President Trump put boots on the ground in Iran, right? So
Right.
I want to play this clip first, and then we could get into more detailed discussion. Where is the clip? Is this the clip here? What I'm doing?
I can hear you.
Okay. Doing too much. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Let me share this.
They're tough and they want to fight. And they're calling, they're saying, how do we make a deal? I said, you're being a little bit late. And we want to fight now more than they do. And I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military, and the police to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country. Accept immunity. We'll give you immunity. You'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death. And I don't want to see that. They don't want to see it either. We also urge Iranian diplomats around the world to request asylum and to help us shape a new and better Iran with great potential. It's a country with great potential, a much better future for Iran.
What are the circumstances where you'd send in ground troops? How are you thinking about that?
I don't even want to talk about it now. I mean, that's, I don't think it's an appropriate question. You know, I'm not going to answer it. Could there be? Possibly, for very good reason. Have to be very good reason. And I would say if we ever did that, they would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level. A lot of negotiating leverage, maybe maximum, but we're not looking to settle. They'd like to settle. We're not looking to settle. They're on their third or fourth level of leadership, and they have leaders right now that nobody even knows who they are. They're being decimated now. You know, at some point, I don't think there'll be anybody left maybe to say we surrender, but they're being decimated.
So, oh wait, let me pause that. Okay, good. So yeah, so should he eventually send in boots on the ground? Now, headset.
I tried
Except.
everything. Coffee, Pomodoro.
Except.
Headset.
What are the circumstances?
I'm tearing up his name, but anyway, he's saying there's a possibility. And Trump is saying it could be. He's not going to answer that, which he should not. So I want to go to you first, Omar, because you have that experience. What do you think?
I think it should the option is always available to put troops on the ground anywhere. That's why we have so many different bases in foreign countries and outposts, and you got ships out in the water, and Marines, Army, different types of special forces guys. They could have people anywhere in this world within a matter of hours. All it takes is a phone call. But as far as that Iran and just the Middle East in general, I think this is a bigger politic game going on right now. And if you could keep physical people, boots on the ground out of there and keep, American forces out of harm's way, I think that would be the best decision, unless something calls for it.
Well, what will
What's
call
it?
for? Because the Marines going first, right?
For the most part, yes, but it depends. Like on a higher level, it depends. You're sending in Marines, you're sending in, National Guard guys, you're sending in. It could be SEALs that go in. It could be MARSOC that goes in. It could be a different. It just depends on the mission, what the mission calls for.
What do you go ahead, Judge? What do you think?
It could be a bigger raid like you had with Desert Storm, Gulf War One, 1990, 1991, a brilliant military action. The Air Forces came in, Navy, Marine, and Air Force came in, pulverized communications, command and control centers, demoralized a lot of the military personnel. They came in a brilliant sweep, swept through the desert using the new GPS. Unexpectedly, they came through it easting. They had one of the biggest tank battles in history. It was a brilliantly conducted thing. We got in, got out. Now, SOCOM, as our guest has been talking about, do their raids. This is a professional military. It's not conscripted, in meaning it isn't drafted. You guys are a lot harder than they used to be. You trained a lot harder. You've been in, and
It's to be honest
you
with
know
you,
what you're doing. Now,
it'll get ugly. It'll get ugly fast because it's a lot of younger guys that are out there right now that the this is gonna sound crazy. The worst part about being a Marine is when it's peacetime because you want to go do something. All of this training, train, you want to actually go do it. And the way that the United States military is set up, it's a lot of 18 to 25-year-olds that's itching to go wish somebody would, just kind of hit that button. So
Yeah. In other words, that's what you signed up for, not to push forms being filled out to make sure everything's in order. And then
hmm
the other thing is, it's like when it hits the fan, you want to see who can handle it. And that's who you try to keep in. That's who you try to promote. That's who you keep in reserve status because that's a cadre of proven veterans, which is valuable. We have a bigger one than most militaries on the planet right now. So that's in our favor. Now,
absolutely.
I wanna play
we
this
have a
clip.
thing
Go ahead.
here, back to what you're saying. I was telling Dana earlier, there are a lot of Iranians my age and down to say about 60 something who remember when the Shah was trying to make Iran one of the most westernized countries in the Middle East. And then the Ayatollahs came in and put in their form of religious repression and fanaticism. And a lot of people don't look at that too kindly. Other thing is women have on burqas and nobody can see their earphones and everybody has a cell phone. You don't have to worry about a Radio America thing like they did in the Cold War and try to keep the transmission secret and the reception secret. Everybody can, you know, hear it as they're walking down the streets with satellite communication. So the propaganda is spreading in the intelligence community in cooperation with Mossad, Egyptian intelligence, and Saudi counterintelligence has been feeding in a lot of information about what the people are feeding, which is an advantage we did not have 25 years ago for two and didn't have for Gulf War One 35, 36 years ago. So there are advantages, and I think there's something else. What do you think about this proposition I've been hearing that the indicated time for the operations corresponds to an assessment of how much heavyweight ammo that the Iranians have to burn and when they will run out? You heard anything like that?
I haven't personally, no. I haven't heard anything about that.
I
Do
don't
you
think
get
people really pay attention
do
to
you get let me ask you a
the
quick
ammunition
question. Do
like
you get military times?
Yes, I do.
Okay, they've been running some stuff for the last year about missile supplies and how long it would take us to run dry. And also, there's some little stuff in
I've
there
seen
about how
something.
long it
I've
would
seen
take the
that.
Iranians to run dry.
I've seen that. I want to say I don't recall seeing Iran on there. I remember like they had like North Korea, Japan, they had Russia, the US, they had Canada. I think they had some type of either NATO or UK like supply kind of listing that they had set up. I don't recall the information, but I do remember seeing something like that.
Yeah, it's more references when it comes to
Right.
Iran, but the objective would be to get them to shoot off all of their stuff on provocation, and then when they don't have much to shoot back with, go in there and punish them.
well, and maybe that's part of the strategy. I wanna play this clip here of Marco Rubio.
hmm
Are you there, Judge? Why is his thing
I'm not
thinking like
sure.
that? What is going on? You see it thinking, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
His
he's not
name's
e
still there.
yeah, but I'm looking at the screen here, he's not even on the screen. What is this? Why is it like this? All right, let's see.
Rose, just when we're
All
getting
right.
ready to talk about heavy stuff, it always does. It says, oops, connection lost, reconnecting right there. I knew it was going to do that.
So this is Mark Rubio. He says United States is about to unleash Qinghai on Iran. This is a reference to a 1953 foreign policy decision by Eisenhower to lift the naval blockage restricting Qinghai key Sheik Taiwan-based forces from attacking mainland China. Let's see this.
You know, you're about to see, we're going to unleash Chang on these people in the next few hours and days. You're going to really begin to perceive a change in the scope and in the intensity of these attacks as, frankly, the two most powerful air forces in the world take apart this terroristic regime and defang it and take away its ability to threaten its neighbors or hide behind a zone of immunity that allows them to develop their nuclear ambitions. This terroristic, radical, cleric-led regime cannot be ever allowed to have nuclear weapons. We saw what they were willing to do to their own people. They were willing to slaughter their own people in the streets. Imagine what they would do to us. Imagine what they would do to others.
So
36 kilotons brought Japan to its knees, and the most fanatical opponent we've ever fought militarily surrendered with 36 megatons. It's predicted that Iran, on their first try, will be able to get around 250 kilotons rather than 16.
Well, Heck Seth warns more casualties should be expected in Iran operation. So, I think how many so far? 7 to 8 U.S. service members have been killed. So he's saying expect more. And I don't think he's taking it lightly, but
Well, think about it. What else comes to mind? That's the death toll here in Memphis for a month or 2 weeks.
true. So I want to ask about Saudi Arabia because now Saudi Arabia warns Iran it will be the greatest loser if it escalates attacks.
Yeah, nobody likes Iran. They don't like fanaticism. Nobody except the fanatics. So you've got Saudi counterintelligence cooperating with the U.S. intelligence apparatus, and also Mossad is hooked up with the Saudi intelligence crew as well as the Egyptian intelligence crew. Nobody publishes that very much, but that's a fact. And everybody's standing in as proxy on one side or another, or balancing in the middle between China, Russia, and the United States. BRICS is on one side economically, our system's on the other side, and then you've got whatever. And some people are saying we have a product both of you are interested in, fuel, so what's it going to cost you and how much do we get out of the deal? And then you've got a businessman in the middle working the art of the deal.
Right.
Interesting.
All right. I'm gonna play this clip here.
While we're waiting, how long you been out of the Marines, son?
About 15 years now.
Oh, okay.
15 years, yep.
You look young to me. My boys are about your age. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, I just had a birthday, so just turned 40, and yeah, man.
You're a little younger than my oldest son and
Okay.
a little older than my youngest, and he just got out of the Navy about 5 years ago.
I remember you mentioned that.
All right, so let me play this clip and then get you guys' reaction.
This is a very important meeting. We had a lot of important meetings today, but this is a big one because this is really the future of, I think, beyond college sports. This is the future of colleges, because we're looking at numbers that are coming in and the amount of money being spent and lost by otherwise very successful schools is astounding just in a short period of time. It's only going to get worse. So we have to save college sports and save, I believe, colleges. We have to save our Olympic team because so many sports that are in the Olympics will no longer be represented by people that went through college and became competitive, became great at the sport. We won't be anywhere near what we were. I think it's just a very, very important meeting. We have the most important people in college sports and really beyond. And what I'd like to do is I'll say a few words. I'm going to ask Marco and a few to also say a few words. And I'd like to take your suggestions. And we have the speaker. We have John Thune is here or represented. We have some of the big politicians, senators, Congress people that can make it get approved. Yeah, because we have to go through, I guess we have to go through, I'd do an executive order. I'd love to do that. I'll probably do it anyway. We'll do an executive order. We'll see how it works. Because thank you all for being here as we stand up for one of America's greatest and most. Johnson doing a great job. Governor Ron DeSantis, Senators Ted Cruz, Eric.
All right, this is not it because a woman who really is respected. He said something about Condoleezza, and they're playing this whole
leader.
thing.
He liked me, I liked him, but we both liked very few other people. And we had a good time, and we won a lot of.
So let me just go to this clip here. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
This decision to launch this operation was based on a cumulative effect of various direct threats that Iran posed to the United States of America, and the president's feeling based on fact that Iran does pose an imminent and direct threat.
I've said repeatedly since the first briefing over 10 days ago, there was no imminent threat to the United States that I believe would constitute putting our sailors and soldiers in harm's way.
Well, was Iran a threat to the U.S. or not? Joining us tonight to talk about this and the situation in the Middle East is former Secretary of State, former National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice. Secretary Rice, thanks for being here. You know, we have these polls out about Iran, national security threat. Most people who answer these polls, it's 61% yes, 38% no. This is the banter back and forth, even as obviously the military operation is being characterized as being very successful, and we have markers on that. What's your thoughts about where we are right now and where we may be headed?
Well, the most important thing, Brett, and thank you for having me, but the most important thing is to recognize that Iran has been at war with us for at least 47 years, all the way from 1979. People may forget. They took our embassy hostage 444 days. They were responsible for the killings of 300 plus Marines in Lebanon in the early 1980s. If you ask people about Iraq, what was the source of many of our casualties in Iraq, you'll get estimates as high as 75 or 80% of them were due to Iranian-made roadside bombs. And so they've been at war for us a long time. They also have developed the military capability to have reach outside of the boundaries of Iran, including Hezbollah and Hamas, which they both arm and equip and continue to arm and equip even after the events of the summer. And I myself negotiated 4 Security Council resolutions calling them a threat to international peace and security under Chapter 7, the strongest chapter of the UN Security Council resolutions, because of their nuclear ambitions. So to say that this regime was not a threat, I think is simply not, it's ahistorical. They have been a threat for a long time.
You know, you can praise the military's action, its effectiveness, how precise it is, the amazing things we're seeing every day of the U.S. military and the Israeli military, for that matter, while still raising questions about how long is this going to last? Is it worth the blood and treasure that we're doing currently? You know, another poll, the handling of Iran, does it make us safer, less safe, no difference? Less safe is at 51%. So there is this skittishness or skepticism out there, even if you're wholeheartedly supporting what the military is doing every day.
Well, because there is uncertainty with any military operation and what the aftermath might be. But I think if the goal of the administration is to render Iran incapable of using its military forces outside of its borders, of threatening our neighbors, our allies, of threatening our bases abroad, which we're seeing they are capable of doing. If it is trying to deny them a conventional umbrella for their nuclear ambitions, that is a worthy goal. Now, what comes after? People are, of course, concerned about that. But if you can render Iran essentially incapable of military action against us and against our allies, that's worthy. And I think what they're trying to do is to neuter Iran as a military power in the region. And by the way, the Iranians, who I think made a strategic blunder in attacking the Gulf states like the UAE or Kuwait or others, is demonstrating that it is its goal to be a destabilizing force in the Middle East. Yes, you can still be concerned about what may come after. You can still be concerned about the uncertainties of warfare, but to render this awful regime incapable of using its military power, that's a worthy goal.
Actually, what's interesting with the stats is it's about a draw between those who think this is going to harm the U.S. and those who think it'll do no harm or help. So it's about 50-50 on the count, 51, which is actually 50 in some percentage points versus 49 in some percentage points. The other thing is, in the big picture, getting it back to local, our intelligence community seems to be tracing anywhere between, I think it's 160 and close to 300 million they can trace that the Somali thing in Minnesota has resulted in going to Hamas, ISIS, etc., and Iranian forces. So our local idiots have been financing avowed enemies of the United States financially. The other thing is actually, I hate to say this, but the troops would have a higher probability of having some harm done to them if they put on civvies and visited Beale Street or the Elvis Presley mansion or took a tour of Memphis or of Chicago or certain other places in the country. I know where I grew up around 58th in Normandy and Los Angeles. Hell, you would have had a higher probability of getting hurt by gunfire just walking through that neighborhood for 2 hours than you would have in downtown Baghdad in
What is your take about
2004. In other words, the statistical readout says it isn't going to do us much harm, if anything, going in there in terms of casualties or losses, but it'll gain us a whole lot if we do. In other words, the numbers are in favor of doing exactly what's being done right now. Slam dunk.
I want to ask Omar before I let you go, Omar.
Yeah, let's hear from the young
When you
man.
were
You
in
got a faith.
when you were in the military, when you were active, you were under Colin Powell and
Yes.
Condoleezza Rice. They were in charge. They were leaders under the Bush administration.
Hmm.
What do you think about what she said? And she's very knowledgeable, and just her
Yeah, she is.
when you were active and they were in charge.
Uh, First, I think she honestly gets a bad rap a lot just from just being attached to the Bush administration. Just like the last convo we had with Colin Powell and all of his accolades, but anybody that was associated with George Bush, kind of had to bite the bullet a little bit as far as, chit chat and, stuff of that nature. But she's spot on. We've been talking about, I'm 40 and I've been talking about Iran. I can remember being in a smoke pit and everybody just sitting around and we like, hey man, what if such and such happens with Iran? It's nothing new, you know. I think that a lot of what the judge mentioned about the Minnesota and the Somali fraud and money going to a lot of these terrorist organizations that's funding this stuff on top of US dollars that Iran has gotten. Uh, weapons and uranium and vibranium and whatever else they got going on over there. Uh, it's nothing new, and it's a threat. It has always been that way, and I
So
think that
you can witness firsthand, like you can say, honestly say, Iran has always been a major threat to us.
always we did. I used to do at least 5 convoys a week, and any convoy we went to that was in the direction of Iran, we went in the middle of the night. Middle of the night. We're not driving. I'm not talking 10 o'clock. I'm talking like we're leaving out at 2 at night and we want to be back by 7 a.m. Because that's the safest bet, is to just go in the wee hours of the night and get back, as the sun is coming up, to avoid anything. And you traveling all up and down through Iraq, everywhere down south of Baghdad up to Korean village, or if you're going towards the Syrian border, or if you're going towards the Jordanian border, it was different routes that you took, and different times that you would leave. But going towards Iran, yeah, we want to be in and out quick, because don't make a wrong turn and end up. It's no borders like how we have here. Like, you just driving down a dirt road, or it could be a paved road, but it's no signs. You don't know, but it's just one of those things.
Okay. So anything else before I let you go? Anything else you want to add on when it comes to this US Iran war? Do you think personally, do you think this administration knows what they're doing and doing it? Oh, let me share this real quick, because this is why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because this just came in, because Trump he just spoke not too long ago, and he's predicting. Trump says the war in Iran is very complete, far ahead of schedule. Um, he says, given an indication that the 1 week long war is coming to an end soon, I think the war is very complete, pretty much. They have no Navy, no communications. They've got no Air Force. So I guess the bombing, that the United States were doing is really bombing their defense areas.
Right.
So Trump, a CBS reporter asking Trump whether he had a comment for Iran's new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who was named by the regime over the past weekend, and Trump said, "I have no message from him, none whatsoever." So, yeah, so he's saying that this may end soon, and he did give a 4 to 6 week window.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely just seen something not too long ago about, just kind of his timeline of events. I'm not anti-war, but I'm not pro-war either, because I know the side effects of it.
Mhm.
But I'd say, in my opinion, the best bet for the country and for troops and a lot of these young men and women out here serving right now currently, is to get this over with. We used to say, "Kiss, keep it short and sweet," or "keep it simple, stupid." Uh, I think that aligns with the president. I laugh every time I read something that he says or when I hear it, but I respect the fact that it's honest. It's not scripted. It's off the cuff, and I'll take someone being real in my face over somebody being fake behind closed doors.
Mhm.
And just as a veteran, whether you have your opinion, if you support somebody or not, or whatever your political kind of views are, I'm a firm believer in supporting America first, and supporting the commander in chief. So whatever decision comes down, this they're playing chess. They're playing
Right.
chess right now, so this isn't a little kid's game. Uh, but there are people's lives at stake, and we got a country to protect, a country to fund, and I just don't want it to turn into these 30-year forever war where over time, yeah, we've lost this many people, and even the ones that we didn't lose, have mental disorders and different things like that. Like, I just don't want it to turn into the OIF, OEF all over again. Like,
Right.
let's just get in and get out.
Right.
If I might offer this for your consideration, the Marine Corps hymn, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, 1806, the Marines went in with the Navy to deal with the Barbary pirates in the same immediate area. And what that was about is Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution that says the president and the armed services, particularly the Navy, has the obligation to, quote, enforce the law of nations. And also, Article 1, Section 8, the Navy is supposed to pursue, eradicate, and suppress piracy wherever found in the world. And based on a number of treaties, what Iran has been doing, particularly to Navy, shipborne, or marine commerce, amounts to piracy. And the law of nations prohibits what they've been doing in the area. So I think everybody's right on square point, and some of the pundits need to understand that. There are a lot of pieces of information and a lot of pieces of the puzzle that they don't get to see and shouldn't be allowed to see for security purposes, that the guy at the top gets a chance to look at, and he gets to see the whole puzzle when it's put together, not just a few pieces. And the other thing, again, back to this, 250, 110, 280 kilotons is a lot more than the total of 32 that they dropped on Japan to end the war. So just think about the damage that could do to America. And these open borders have allowed people to bring in military grade explosives, if not nukes, with nobody checking them, nobody vetting them. And I think the last I checked, variable yield, something all the way up to 500 kilotons, doesn't weigh but somewhere between 65 and 85 pounds for the warhead. And that's well within man transportable range to bring into the United States and plant. And he's cutting off the heads of the Hydra so they can't give the order. And I guess it's intimidating those who might want to take over and say, see, look what you get if you really want to get taken out.
It's just like I said last time we all spoke. Freedom isn't free, and as much as people like to be able to just open their door, go get in your car, and go to the grocery store, and come back and do this, there's plenty of neighborhoods that are very dangerous. But I would guarantee that there's more that people don't even lock their cars or lock their front doors at night because it's that safe. And to keep it that way, this is just kind of what comes with it. And you know, it's always going to be criticism how somebody handles something, and they want you to do this way and that way. But one of our leadership traits is decisiveness. And so whatever decision you make, it could be right, it could be wrong, could you have done it better, whatever it could. I made a decision, and once you make a decision, you stick with it, and you know you carry out the mission. So
Thank you, Omar.
yes,
Appreciate
ma'am.
Are you
Thank you,
considering
Judge.
running for an office?
No, that's not you. I caught you when I clicked in. I heard you talking about pimps and hoes and prostitutes. I put politicians in there with that whole group of
A
people.
lot of them, but you
They
got
all
to
the
do
same to
with
me.
people.
They all the same to me.
Right.
But you can be a saint in your heart
Well,
and
he can
come
be a
through,
statesman, but
and you know what's going on. And there's another thing too. Veterans are those who have some of the rigors of the military in their souls, make better leaders than the other ones who have none of that.
listen, thank you, Omar.
Yes,
Appreciate
ma'am.
you. Definitely going to have you back on. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. See you
All
guys
right.
Two
later.
thumbs up. Go ahead. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Hoorah.
All right, I want to
Go
move on
ahead.
to Oyu. And guys, please hit the like button. Please share this video. Hi, Katalia. And guys, thank you for the super chats because I am going to get to them. I want to get to this talking about the oil prices because now oil prices they go up a little bit, and Trump has said it before. You know, it's going to be a temporary discomfort.
May I say something very briefly before
For what?
we hear what they say? The cure for that, even Clinton did it, is when somebody wants to boost the pump prices, the president just says, have thumb, forefinger, right hand or left hand, have pen, will sign executive order releasing stocks from the oil reserves, and that'll knock all that out and really reduce your prices if you keep messing with the public. The other thing is oil may become a little bit more rare or restricted. But the reality is we're getting a con game run on us by the oil companies for pushing this game here about the price has got to go up because we haven't received any oil that would be impacted by these circumstances and won't for a minimum of 9 months, or more likely closer to 2 years.
Yeah, so
So if
it should
there
be
is one,
going
it
up
won't kick
now.
in for almost 2 years. So
Right.
saying it's going up now, that's just
Well, it's funny because it says Dow closes wild session up 200 points as oil reserves lower and Trump signals Iran war an end. So when Trump made the announcement that, oh, we're close to an end with this Iran war, that's when the Wall Street market, the Dow Jones points go up. So it says energy analysts said oil prices could continue to rise in response to the war in the Middle East. The sky is the limit. Neil Atkinson, former head of oil at the International Energy Agency, the war is heightening fears of prolonged production shut-ins from crude-rich countries in the Middle East as the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz is effectively Hormuz is effectively closed. So I'm gonna play.
and that, by the way, is international piracy, Article 1, Section 8, which justifies everything that the U.S. armed services have done to Iran at the moment.
Let me play this clip here.
In the spike in oil prices, joining us now is Kevin Book, Clearview Energy Partners Managing Director. Kevin, it's good to see you. We were, a couple of weeks ago, we were pretty well supplied, the world, was it not? Is that not the case anymore? And I guess I'm getting to the difference between spot and futures and whether there is a premium or a fear premium built into what could happen versus what's actually happening.
Good to see you, Joe. The difference, I think, is also maybe the one between stocks and flows. So right now, the flows are interrupted. That's obvious. The question is what's going on with stockpiles. We had an enormous build in 2025, but now we're drawing down stocks as production starts to shut in. Eventually, that catches up. So when you hear talk, as Andrew mentioned, about a coordinated action, you may not be able to close that flowing supply gap right now with government strategic reserves. But what you can do is you can shore up those lost inventories. And one of the strongest statistical relationships in oil analysis is the inverse correlation between price and inventories.
Right. So do you have a better idea than we have how long this lasts and ultimately what the peak in oil is? And will we be at 85 in 2 weeks?
Well, it depends on what happens on the ground or really in the water. I guess that has to do with questions outside of what we cover directly, but let's ask, are we getting more assets moved to the region? Is either side planning to say, all right, we give up? It doesn't look like it right now that the latter is true, and the former looks like it might be true. So maybe we're going on longer. At some point, you have to ask, what are we going to get on the U.S. side, right? Markets price scarcity. Democracies reward popularity, and scarcity isn't popular, so something's got to give. And also there's a question of what it would mean to escort ships through the strait past anti-ship missiles. How much do we have in the way of interceptors? What does that look like in the end? If this goes on weeks, then I think we start to get to the point where supply balances demand on price. And until supply shows back up, price is going to destroy demand.
So we know Iraq, for example, oil production, a third of the normal rate. What does all this mean for our friends in Russia and China?
Well, it means that Russia's barrels, which previously were discounted because they were sanctions distressed, are now able to command much more of a premium than they would previously. It means that China, which was already buying barrels closer to full market price from some of its previous providers as the buyer of last resort for those providers is going to have to pay more. But it also means that China, in 2022, Joe, we had a situation where former President Biden asked China to draw down their strategic reserves, and they didn't. This time around, they have an incentive maybe to do so.
Where's our SPR right now? And have we been trying to, has the Trump administration been trying to build it back up?
This may be one of the most catastrophic mispricings of risk that's come out of the U.S. Congress in a long time. At the start of the Trump administration, you may recall, in President Trump's second inaugural address, he talked about filling the SPR to the top. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said, let's get $20 billion and fill the SPR. It would have been a time-consuming process, but underway. Instead, Congress gave $171 million. So far, they've done 1 million barrels of fill. Again, you wouldn't have a full SPR right now. We're at about 415 million barrels. That is an extremely considerable resource. I don't want to diminish it, but the time to buy insurance is when you don't need it.
All right.
Okay, let me translate. It's BS you're getting here, sales hype. First off, in terms of the absolute numbers of barrels listed as being in the oil reserves, it is apparent that, and by the way, that SPR is Strategic Petroleum Reserves. It is apparent from the facts and figures, last I checked about 3 years ago, that the oil reserves just in Hawaii are sufficient to operate the American economy at 150% of the current rate of usage for the next century before that ran dry. And that's not all of the U.S. oil reserves. So what he's saying is not exactly a straight up and down the reality. The other thing is right now we have a situation that is really kind of ass backwards where more than 95% of domestically consumed oil is imported. There's also another thing too. Every barrel of imported oil results in the oil companies that are responsible getting a premium subsidy per barrel if it goes into the oil reserves. So in other words, instead of getting the value for the price of oil, a certain percentage has to go into the reserve. And let's say, depending upon what year it is, every one of those barrels that goes into reserve gets $5 to the oil company from the U.S. government for putting it there. So, in other words, it's in the interest of the petroleum industry to see that the oil reserves are kept high in terms of the input because they get an extra subsidy per barrel. Next thing, it keeps them in business. Next thing, it cuts down on labor cost, and that's employment opportunities for many. And the other thing is it gives them an excuse to ramp up the pump prices immediately when there is absolutely no impact on it, because as the guy said, it's a matter of futures. What's a future? That means, let's say right now, soybeans are selling for so much a ton, all right? What you do is you buy futures where you lock yourself into getting, say, 180 tons of soybean 4 years from now. You pay the price right this moment. 4 years from now, you get them at the price you locked in, and you're gambling on whether the price of soy is going to go up or down. So what you're getting a lot of with this is dealing with that price point that you can get away with and say, we need to put it into reserves right now. This is going to cause a deficit in the necessary oil or petroleum imports. So we're betting on it right now, and we can use this as a cover and make a killing, because there's no requirement that they speak honestly to the public when they do something like this, though their filings have to be honest and above board on penalty for criminal sanction. So
I want to.
reading the figures, if we didn't pump another drop of oil for 100 years, we could run our economy at 150% of the current usage of petroleum and not run dry.
Well, I want to bring China, Taiwan, and North Korea into the conversation now, because it says CCP military flights around Taiwan drop sharply as U.S. military strikes Iran. U.S. military taking out Iranian leaders and disrupting Iran's oil supply to China have forced Beijing to adjust its confrontational strategies. The Chinese Communist regime has not flown military aircraft around Taiwan for more than a week, while the United States wages war against Iran. This also comes as the ruling Chinese Communist Party has held its annual top political meeting known as the Two Sessions, and CCP leader Xi Jinping is preparing to meet, that's right, US President Donald Trump in Beijing on April the 1st. So, gotta talk about China, Taiwan. So, we supposed to be protecting Taiwan. China always threatening to invade Taiwan. So now China is saying, listen, we was getting our oil from Iran and they were getting a discounted oil from Venezuela, and we taking over both. So now you have to do business with us directly, which means you better leave Taiwan alone. And if you would like to make a deal with us to, some type of oil exchange or whatever, correct?
Well, yeah. See, the press needs to be focusing on stuff like that rather than some poor boy with a mental health issue gets his ass whipped when he tries to compete against the boys. So he wants to beat up on girls and girls' sports. That's been dominating the press voice for the last decade or so, instead of relevant stuff like you just brought out. Now, see, this is the game of chess. Our last guest was talking about that. Uh, there's more to it than meets the eye. See, when you start talking about doing what you're doing with Iran, somebody said, "Oh, the U.S. means business. They're not just selling wolf tickets." And also, there's this other thing with petroleum. See, one of the things countries like to do is maintain stocks for a rainy day type situation. So even though they may have an adequate supply of oil reserves, they keep in mind the lesson from World War II. Japan hit Pearl Harbor. Okay, fine. That put the U.S. Navy at a compromised situation, allowed us to discover a new offensive weapon, the aircraft carrier and the submarine. But what it also did, it was a drastic mistake. The worst thing they did is not destroy or burn out the huge oil reserves the United States had been building up on the Hawaiian Islands since the turn of the 20th, 19th centuries. If they had done that, they would have severely compromised the U.S. ability to fight war in the Pacific, much worse than they did by taking out a series of obsolete battleships. So that's what you're talking about when you talk about fuel. Nazi Germany got brought to its knees, not because you were destroying Tiger and Panther tanks or Messerschmitts. It was because the U.S. and the RAF got a hold of their fuel reserves and destroyed their fuel industry. So you had brand new fighter planes and tanks sitting idle because there was no gas to put in them. The Japanese Navy had the same thing. The Japanese Navy ran out of fuel toward the end of World War II because of the strike on the petroleum facilities and resources that Japan had. So, China being privy to that, the United States being privy to that, you always keep a tight check on what's going on with your fuel situation so your gas tank doesn't run dry. Because our M1 Abrams, for example, don't get miles per gallon. They get gallons per mile. It takes more, about 3.5 gallons to run an M1 tank for 1 mile. So it's a lot of fuel you burn through. So our war industry depends upon our fuel industry, and the same with China, Russia, Iran, France, Germany, Italy, you name it, Australia,
All right.
whoever is
So
doing it.
I want to play this clip here.
Are we stripping East Asia right now and exposing Taiwan as we double and triple down with the Persians?
Well, let's hope we're not, Steve. That would be a bad thing if we were, because as I argued, I think before, this is a phase of World War III that you rightly have described over the last several years. And so this is not just about Iran. This is certainly about China. Now, some folks say that the Chinese have been egging us into this so as to expose ourselves over there in the Middle East, so that we can deplete our forces, what have you, and be incapable of defending Taiwan. certainly that is a problem for us. But wars are fought this way, Steve. There's all sorts of problems throughout a war. Wars are not fought in a couple days, as if this was something that you can watch on TV in one, like a Netflix special, and it'll be over and things will be simple or perfect. And that's not how wars are. And I think we need to grow up a bit as a country on what it takes to fight wars. Do we need more munitions? Yes. Are our factories working around the clock producing more munitions, offensive and defensive? Well, they should be. We should find out today, are our factories who produce these interceptors, are they working around the clock to make sure that we don't need to deplete our allies? Are our allies producing their own defensive weapons and offensive weapons? This is simply the nature. If we have to rely simply on making this perfect before we do it, it'll never get done. And so
By the way,
I have a lot of faith in the president and our military to get this piece of it right.
Are we
Here, I've said this before, it's an ammunition stockpile situation. Thanks to the Obama, Biden, Harris administrations, they have caused our production of necessary armaments to be drastically reduced. There is a race going on where it's a fine juggling act between how much do we have in our stockpiles, how much has been given away to the Ukraine, what's been going on with our donations and frittering this stuff off around the world, and our closing down or reduction of the production capacity of our heavy industry. So the Chinese are looking at this with interest. It's like, okay, fine. If we were to do something against Taiwan, how long could the Navy shoot back at us or defend against us, U.S. Navy? And the answer, Military Times, we were talking about it, they were suggesting some years ago that we had maybe 5 or 6 days worth of munitions to shoot back on a decently run invasion or encroachment upon Taiwan by the Chinese. Those stocks have been diminished by what's been going on. So it looks like we are planning to cause Iran to shoot at us or in retaliation to save face towards us or our surrogates over in the Middle East until they run out of ammo, still keeping enough to be credible in the defense against China. Now, Tomahawk cruise missiles, et cetera, take some time to make because they're complex and they're expensive. But Obama, Biden, Harris cut back production so drastically that it would take us 10 years to replenish our stocks at the rate they're being manufactured now. So Congress is going to have to step in and appropriate the funds. The other problem with that whole picture is that we have allowed ourselves to get behind technology because Russia and China have hypersonic cruise missiles, which means they can arrive on target in very few minutes at 4 or 5 times the speed of our cruise missiles, though we do have some that are coming in. And most importantly, to illustrate the long-term effects, the Obama administration cut production of the F-22 fighter after about 125 examples were made. If the production line had been left open and we had a higher inventory of that particular aircraft, the Chinese and nobody else would be even thinking about making an incursion against a protected ally like Taiwan, but that's not the case.
All right. So I want to play this clip here. This guy Bolton says Iran will acquire North Korean nuclear weapons within 72 hours. That indicates U.S. Israel preparing to strike North Korea in coming days to prevent Iran Korea nuclear deals. Now, real quick, North Korea over a week ago slams the U.S. and Israel over the shameless strike on Iran. So now the question is, will North Korea supply Iran with weapons? Because Trump just announced, listen, we wiped out majority of their defenses, their navy, everything. So I'm going to play this clip here real quick.
You're arguing that it does not need to be an imminent threat, but it is not irrelevant that the President of the United States is saying this week that Iran was 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. What I'm trying to get at is that the basis of going into Iran is that it posed an imminent threat. You have the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, saying that, well, we struck Iran because we had information that Israel was going to strike first. There is no coherent story. Are we back there again where the basis of going to war with another country is a lie?
Well, the administration may be confused, but I'm not confused. I think the threat is very real, and it doesn't matter whether it's a threat that of some remove or closer. But I would say again, Iran's real distance from nuclear weapons is about 72 hours. If it sends a bank transfer to Pyongyang, the central bank of North Korea, and gets a nuclear warhead in return.
So are you saying that the president is lying? Do you concede that the president was lying to the American people?
Oh, look, I'm not a defender of Donald Trump, as you may know. I think he's trying different pieces of logic. He said as well that there obviously is a threat. But he's worried about dissent from within his own political base. I think the strategic arguments on behalf of the United States are real. I think it's a mistake that Trump has not made those arguments more effectively in the United States with Congress and internationally. But the case itself is very, very real.
See, what's going on is the stupid, ignorant, uneducated foolishness of the press as expressed by this young lady who has no clue as to realities. Do you think that somebody is supposed to lay out a detailed plan for the enemy to get a hold of so they know what to expect? No, you confuse them. You give misstatements. As General Clausewitz said in his treatise on war, he said, war is but the ultimate extension of the political process. And when you deal with war, remember it as a political base. And when you deal with politics, remember it could lead to war. So just like you have the need for camouflage, subterfuge, and everything else in outright war, you have that in politics and diplomacy as well. So what Trump is doing is, in fact, what has always been done. You don't tell your foe, this is what we're going to do for you, and we're going to lay it out because we've got idiots that have inquiring minds who just have to know. So we have to satisfy the curiosity of an stupid reporter who didn't get educated in school properly to understand what was going on and has no idea how to play chess, let alone deal with poker or dealing with the ins and outs of diplomacy or what leads up to a shooting match, aka war. So yeah, he's said a lot of different things, but that's what he's supposed to do, so nobody can count on what he's up to unless it's behind closed doors and he's eyeballing you and telling you, or one of our diplomats is doing it and saying, back off before you, quote, get your ass whipped, unquote. Yeah, you can buy a nuke from North Korea, but the bottom line is North Korea is well targeted. The targets are known. They don't have any defense against what we can throw at them. We wouldn't even have to go nuke, but we could wipe somebody's rocket fat ass off the planet. Rocket Man, as he calls him, who's got a taste for Western entertainments and whatever it is. But see, it is what it is. So when you do what Teddy Roosevelt said, for all his shortcomings, he came up with a beautiful thing. Speak softly and carry a big stick. Well, you can speak loudly and carry a big axe. And you can whip ass with that axe or its handle. And the choice whether you want the axe head or the handle that comes on you is yours to make when somebody is. Remember the legend about Paul Bunyan and the blue ox? How mighty Paul Bunyan was. When somebody is a Paul Bunyan and he's got that axe he carries around in a huge giant blue ox, you have a whole lot of options when it comes to somebody walking along with a crook and a sheep. A crook meaning a staff. So there's where you are. In other words, the U.S. is demonstrating that we are not selling wolf tickets, and this is not what you're used to. So you want to get it? Let's get it on. And the bottom line is remember, we don't want another 911 2.0. And like I was pointing out with the F-22s, if we had taken care of our business during the Obama administration when that fool cut off the production line of F-22s in 2008, we wouldn't be here right now because everybody would be scared of us because that fighter plane cannot be messed with. It's not compromised. There's nothing in the world that can whip it. It can take down everything. It's stealth. It's highly maneuverable, super fast, heavily armed. It can see things that nothing else can see, and we have operative maybe 100 of them, and that's thanks to the Obama administration. If we had the planned fleet of 1,500, we would be unassailable, and we wouldn't be having this discussion right now because nobody would dare make an opposing move to counter it. Now, that's why you have these long-term considerations in what somebody does to have a social experiment with the military about letting a bunch of freaks cut their dicks off and go to the military vet to get fixed and neutered so they can wear skirts or something. That's what comes of it. The price of doing that wipes out what you would have to deal with arming your troops and your country.
So, Fulton County. So it's a couple more things. I'm gonna kind of briefly touch on
Oh
Fulton
boy.
County.
What they done did now.
Well, this involves China.
What they done did now.
You guys, please hit the like button. Please share this video.
Did they take some money from China?
And I put a poll: should there be some federal arrests in Georgia for the election fraud?
Xi Jinping done bought off some Negroes in Atlanta. Ain't that a shame?
Exactly. So, yeah, where is this? Okay, it's right
Why are
here.
they wearing the mask right now? They got an outbreak down there or something that's dangerous?
I don't know. So this is the thing. Let me bring it up bigger here. So it says breaking report: CCP state-owned enterprise funneled money to Democrat Party in Georgia, a Tampa-based company with ties to a Chinese state enterprise. So a Chinese state enterprise has been accused of funneling foreign-linked contributions to U.S. political campaigns, including those of Senator John Ossoff and various Democratic committees as part of a broader pattern of political giving, according to investigative information from a recently filed FEC complaint filed by Florida senatorial candidate Chris Gleason. iGas Clean Energy Inc., a Tampa, Florida subsidiary of Jiang Huhan, and I know I'm tearing up the word, Limited, a corporation listed on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange, directed funds through a network of entities and individuals. The Zhejiang Provincia SASAC, an entity under the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, holds 34% controlling stake in Zhejiang Juha, making it the largest shareholder and subjecting the company. Where I was at? Subjecting, what is this?
Well, anyway,
Oh, wait, let me
what they
finish.
are, they done bought off some Negroes.
Let me finish. Making it the largest shareholder and subjecting the company to claims of de facto CCP government control. This determination has been upheld by the U.S. Department of Commerce proceedings across multiple administrations, including judicial reviews by the Court, International Trade, and Federal Circuit. The report alleges that over a 10-year period, this network contributed $2.43 million to 147 federal political committees, while the majority, 94%, reportedly went to Republican recipients such as the NRCCP. The operation also targeted Democrat entities totaling $140,000 across more than 30 committees. ActBlue, DCCC, Biden for President, Biden Victory Fund, other committees such as those supporting Reps Ted Lieu, Maria Newman, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
And by the way, we know from reviewing the disclaimers by BLM on their site that 1/3 of every dollar you send them goes to Act Blue. They're an enterprising little bunch. They put you up into looking at take your booties to the poll and financing the communications, transportation, and organization of protest and demonstration, which have been causing all this chaos. So it's interesting that the Democratic Party has been so closely associated with an agent of disruption of public order and national chaos and violence, death, and property destruction. That ought to be investigated, and that would act as a conspiracy, which ought to lead to some indictments. Of course, being politically nice about it, most administrations will look the other way. One other thing, too, this is not disassociated with what Waltz had been okaying in Minnesota, what the power structure in Minnesota was doing, what Democrats are supporting having been done in Minnesota, wherein hundreds of millions of dollars have gone to Al Qaeda, ISIS, etc., that belong to the citizens of Minnesota and the United States that got pilfered and misappropriated and sent to enemies of the nation. So, any other time, this would be sure to result in prosecution, convictions. The last, remember the thing about the sale of atomic secrets to the Russians resulted in, let's see, the Rosenbergs, was that it? Got executed. I may be wrong about the names. I haven't thought about it in years. But anyway, see, we've gotten too soft and allowed people to make $5 million on their book detailing their criminality instead of putting them in jail.
Well, listen, apparently Republicans, that's what the article was insinuating, that Republicans received some money from Chinese.
I don't care who you are. You do that, something needs to be looked at. By the way, let me say one other thing.
Let me ask you this. Isn't that treason? Treason?
Treason is the only crime defined in the U.S. Constitution. And essentially, yes, it would be, but it isn't occurring in an active wartime. And under the circumstances, I don't think they could marshal the proof necessary. But let me say this. I actually got to read the transcripts of the not one, but 1, 2, 3 Hunter Biden laptops and interview the technician and go through those things with another couple of defense lawyers, former prosecutors in the process. And one of the problems with bringing some of this stuff out sufficient to satisfy inquiring minds is that we had to advise Fox, please don't publish all of this stuff because you'll get some loyal American, patriotic folk put on a wall and shot. And that's right after they wasted the opportunity to rescue some of them. They spent it on that, what is it, that tall, lanky, lesbian female basketball star who got caught with the hash oil going through a Russian airport like a fool, and everybody made a big thing about it. By the way, do you know I was in a sporting goods store and I looked at it and I said, what is this? They have recordings where they're making that person a hero for getting caught with what is a Schedule 1 drug in the United States, smuggling it through an airport in Russia. They're making her a hero. What is that?
I have no idea, but listen, I want to stay in Georgia real quick because
Well, I mean, it's in Georgia. It's all tied in.
I know. Let me go here because we got to move it along. So Fannie Willis, right? Georgia Republicans are pushing for more restrictions on local prosecutors, saying their investigation into Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis proves the moves are needed. Willis, August 2023, obtained an indictment against Trump and 18 others, accusing them of participating in a wide range scheme to illegally try to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. This case was dismissed in November after courts barred Willis and her office from pursuing it because of an appearance of impropriety stemming from a romantic relationship. Several of the state senators who backed the measure that passed the chambers this past Friday are running for statewide office, with primaries set for May 19th. The fate of legislation concerning local prosecutors is unclear in the House, which is less rarely partisan than the Senate, although still under GOP control. There's probably some rhinos in there. The measure
Yeah, rhinos.
The measure that passed the Senate adds more reasons that local prosecutors can be disciplined or removed by a commission created in 2024 to provide oversight to elected district attorneys in Georgia, as well as elected solicitors general who prosecute lower level crimes in some counties. The measure lets commission discipline prosecutors for violating bar rules, for failing to notify crime victims of prosecutors' action, failing to comply with public records requests, or showing undue bias or prejudice against a person being prosecuted.
Okay, bar rules. That means you lose your law license and your ability to earn a living as an attorney. Now, if it goes far enough, that hurts. But the truth of the matter is they're being polite. What's unsaid is that whole illicit romantic liaison was also a situation that was covering for the fact that there are allegations that seem substantial that money laundering was going on, or it was a scheme to misappropriate public funds to the extent of several $1 million that Miss Fonnie Willis and Attorney Wade would be able to split under the table. Those are allegations, but it seems substantial. Also, the connections that are developing look like it's a conspiracy, and that conspiracy extends from D.C. to Atlanta to now we find it Beijing. That's in China. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. And anybody, Republican, hopefully Rhino rather than MAGA, anybody, Democrat, otherwise independent, who gets a piece of this action, they need to be looked at intensely. And like I said, some people got executed in the early 1950s for assisting the Russians with acquiring the atomic bomb secrets. So that's precedent. We don't need to forget that. Sometimes it's important. And these things are bad because you've got these illegals that stormed across our border, committed trespass, and they've been armed up, and they bombed up. And if you think roadside IEDs are bad, you wait till a dirty bomb, military grade explosives, or a nuke goes off because it's already here. And by the way, Iran would have done brilliantly if they had sacrificed the nuke core for a potential missile delivered system and had it imported anywhere into this
All right,
country.
we need to stay in Georgia. So listen, let me.
I mean, Georgia be a nice center.
All right. So I want to bring this up. It says here, these two were awarded the Presidential Citizen Medal by Biden. They were heavily involved in the Fulton County, Georgia elections in 2020. They later sued Rudy Giuliani for defamation and won. Now it's coming out that Fulton County was in fact corrupt. Should Rudy Giuliani be reimbursed for his losses? Should these two women go to jail? So this is Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. Now you remember, because
it's going to be hard to undo a ruling of a court that has survived appeal. It's not like it's a criminal case. So the correct remedy is for the wrong party to sue them for damages and seek to get it back. He'll have to sue them. So I'm not surprised. But the point I was going to make is, ironically, Atlanta would make an excellent target for anybody that had done that. So the really ironic part is they got funded to set up the mess, and then the mess was taken advantage of for somebody to come in and make them the targets for an annihilation that would really make an impression.
I need to get to the super chats. Thank you to the retail trader says, is that David? What she is describing cannot be determined. It's a subjective evaluation of success that will cost tax dollars and will not be expensed to the people making the decision to expend the tax dollars. I think he's talking about Condoleezza Rice, that clip. And going forward, when people send in super chats, I think I need to address it because if I know it's on the topic that we're currently talking about, instead of waiting to the end. He also says, thank you again. A retail trader says, their only gain is to defense. The only gain is to defense contractors and contracting dollars. What gain do I get that I can quantify? Okay, yeah. So this is, I guess, talking about
Answer, you keep your ass alive so you don't happen to be a casual or incidental victim of another 9/11, 9/11 2.0,
But you know
or your
what?
son, daughter, or somebody you know.
There are a lot of companies who have contracts with the government specifically for war, whether it's to provide metal to build the tanks, ammunition, or whatever, defense. These defense contracts get billions of dollars, especially when we are in active war. So there is a small group of people in the private sector getting paid and getting wealthy and continue to be wealthy and powerful every time we go to war right now.
Well, and there's a worse problem. Like
So
right now,
what are we really getting out of it?
okay, I'll tell you what, jobs. For example, Biden Harris and Obama Biden are responsible for the closing down of most all of our shipyards capable of building naval vessels. We just have less than a handful that can build them. China has 127, 132 shipbuilding facilities that can build naval vessels. We're down to 5. So that's because people wanted to spend the money on sick creatures who wanted to go to a military vet doctor and get fixed. So
all right, let me read this one.
we got a mess. It impacts everybody.
All right, it says average home cost is $450K as of March 9th, 2026. They could get the result they want in Iran on March the 10th of this year, and the average home cost will be $450. What is the gain for me? So it's like, yeah, our prices are not going to go down.
No, but you stay alive.
The likelihood of us even dying, it was still with him. Technically, he didn't have to attack Iran. It's not like they was going to send a missile over here if we didn't attack them when we attacked them. So
They don't
prices are
have
not
to.
going down.
They don't have to send a missile. The borders were open. They could walk the components
We're
across.
here. Okay, so while we're over there bombing Iran, the sleeper cells are here. So
Yeah, but we
tomorrow or 3 years from now, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
No, but
the average
what we did was wiped out the command and control authority.
home is still 450. Whether
I understand, but your average home, the average home is not your problem.
So what is the American people? So he's saying
The American problem is this: the average device that Iran would have the capability of making or buy from North Korea would be about 250 kilotons. The ones that destroyed Japan's will to fight, one was 16 kilotons and one was 18. So that's 33 kilotons total. So what 35 kilotons. So what winds up happening is you've got a mess, 35 kilotons versus 250 that can easily be unleashed on American soil. Such a device would weigh between 50 and 80 pounds, which is less than recruits have to march around with on a hike in their backpacks.
So let me
So,
read this. It says,
yeah.
thank you, Bernard. He says, this is bad timing. It's Ramadan and it's beginning to look like it's a religious war. It's Jews and Christians versus Muslims. Not good if that's the case. You're absolutely right, because I did think of that. It's funny because he started this. He attacked Iran at the beginning of Ramadan. I think that was calculated because Netanyahu, evil, devilish, racist, bigot ass, he's so trifling. And I know that's why he told Trump to attack Iran. Let's attack Iran right now in the beginning of Ramadan, because behind it all, not even behind it all, they want to use it as a religious war because a lot of people are religious. You have all these crazy, ignorant lunatics online, Christians, that are sitting up here saying all this nasty stuff about the Muslim religion, right? If you want to talk about individuals, crazy individuals, that's fine, but don't say, oh, they're crazy because they're Muslim. Christians got a lot of shit with them. So do Jewish people. I don't really hear a lot of Jewish people saying something crazy or negative about Muslims, but Zionists are,
Okay.
Christians are. So I think that to his super chat, he has a point. I agree with you.
I disagree here. Look, Egypt and Saudi Arabia are staunchly behind this. It's not just Israel. That's just the frou-frou appearance because the rest of them have to maintain appearances. But Mecca is located in Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has been in the forefront of helping this defense
Saudi Arabia
against
can't bomb.
Iran come about. So the home of Mecca, the most holy place for Islam, is in fact behind this whole thing. Saudi Arabia does not like Iran, and it was one of our main bases of operations against Iraq in the Sand Pile Wars 1 and 2, and it is one of the main staging areas for what we're doing against Iran right now. So Saudi counterintelligence, Egyptian intelligence, and the Mossad are collaborating in this, much to the chagrin of some people in the Middle East who don't like the idea, but that's a fact. So we have something that's being made to look like a religious war, but it's got a lot deeper roots in more pragmatic considerations than whose version of heaven or hell is right.
Mhm. Thank you again. The retail trader says, God's grace keeps me alive, not men. Stay blessed. Absolutely.
Well, I hope you don't come to Memphis because it's godless, and a lot of people out there would like to shoot you and take your money.
No, nobody's not coming to Memphis right now. So anyway,
Well,
thank
but
you.
that's in a lot of cities in
All right.
America
Let me
run by
read
the
it.
blue crowd.
The
So anyway,
Jackals of Terra says the housing market is being artificially inflated by equity firms largely owned by the Chinese CIA, create an energy crisis in China, collapse BlackRock, Vanguard, etc. That's how Iran can matter.
okay, well, all of the above. It's a chess game. There are many squares on the board and many pieces.
Mm-hmm. So one more thing that I do want to highlight. And this is the last. What's this here? Make this bigger. So bring this over here. Trump says Iranian women's soccer team is being cared for by Australia, right? Trump offered asylum to the Iranian team after hearing that players were threatened for not singing the Iranian national anthem. So the U.S. President Donald Trump said 5 players from Iran women's soccer team are being cared for in Australia, and the other team members are on their way to asylum in the country, according to his Truth Social post. And I'm going to post that. The team came under protection after the final match of the Asian Women's Cup against the Philippines in Australia the night before. Players of the 26-member squad were labeled by Iran state media as wartime traitors, and threatened with punishment after they refused to sing the country's national anthem before a loss to South Korea last week. This is Trump's Truth Social 6 hours ago. He says asylum. This story is absolutely insane. Senior Iranian regime propagandists threatened to have members of the Iranian women's football team killed because they didn't sing the national anthem. The women were then basically held under armed guard in Australia by Iranian officials to prevent them from escaping. They were even seen making SOS signals on their team bus. The Australian government explicitly dragged their feet on saving them right up until the last possible moment. That's because Trump stepped in. 5 girls just escaped and claimed asylum. The rest face a flight home tomorrow to almost certain persecution. This is the same Australian government which wants to import literal ISIS members from Syrian prison camps. They've spent the past month trying to get ISIS brides back on planes to Australia, but they had to be dragged kicking and screaming to protect 5 women fleeing Islamic persecution. So yeah, I'm glad Trump stepped in,
And of course, the Democratic Party is uninterested in such nuances.
Now there was a time, what is that?
You disappeared.
Okay, you can see me now because I can see
I
me.
see you now.
So there was a time in America, oh my God, the 2 black men who raised their fists. That was
I
the
knew them.
68 Olympics.
Yes.
What was their names? I gotta find their names. But listen, now they weren't put on a wall and shot because we don't do that here. But they were ridiculed. They were economically challenged. The white guy who took bronze or silver, he was from Australia. He caught a lot of backlash when he went home, but he suffered in silence because no one cared because he was white. However, he lost a lot of job opportunities. He was shunned. So I understand, and I'm glad Trump stepping in saying, hey, they get asylum in Australia. If you don't want to give it to them, we'll give it to them. Send them here. They should not be killed because they didn't want to sing or salute the Iranian national anthem.
See, Trump is relying on this sentiment, which is pretty widespread in Iran, to have a regime overthrow.
Right. And it looks good. It's good PR.
Yeah, that's what America's supposed to be for.
If you knew those guys, why don't you remember their names?
I'm going to let you look them up.
Because you don't remember their names.
That's not the case.
It's okay, because I don't remember either. And it is like, soon as I bring it up.
Well, one of them got married to somebody that was best friends with a fiance of mine. So, yeah, and he died of a heart attack after a nice, successful career as an attorney. So I'll tell you the story when you come up with the names. If you don't come up with the names,
Carlos.
we'll leave it.
I knew when I saw the names, I'm like, damn it, why didn't I remember? Because it's easy names. John Carlos and Tommy Smith, American athletes, right? They're famously the Black Power salute, protesting at the podium, and they were protesting against racial discrimination in the United States, and also marked by pre-game student protests in Mexico, groundbreaking athletic achievements. Blah, blah,
And
blah.
don't forget Wayne Carlos too, who got
John Carlos and Tommy Smith.
Yeah.
Yes.
And wait a minute, not Wayne Carlos. Wayne Collette was one of the track stars too.
Carlos.
I'm just saying there were actually 3 folk. One of them tends to be forgotten. The other one is Wayne Collette.
Okay.
So I'll give credit where credit's due. That was rife through the whole Olympic team then.
Yeah. So again, I think that
this was when Muhammad Ali said he's not going.
I think that the women should receive protection because no one should not be put on a wall and shot or harmed because they refuse to stand for for their country's national anthem. That's
We
all.
would put Kaepernick on the wall for kneeling.
Right.
Yeah, see, that's what I tell people. There are collateral consequences about which too many have too little concern, or the wrong kind of concern that attend the First Amendment in its exercise.
And then also,
I may not
so
agree with what you say,
Australia,
but I defend your right to say it.
right. And Australia was dragging their feet because Trump said Australia is making a terrible humanitarian mistake by allowing Iran national women's soccer team to be forced back to Iran, where they will most likely be killed. Don't do it, Mr. Prime Minister. Give asylum. The U.S. would take them. If you won't, thank you for your attention to this matter, President. So here's the thing. If Trump did not speak up, because he's very influential, if he did not speak up, Australia punk ass would have sent them back. And the only reason why they're giving them asylum and protect them is because Trump called them out on their shit.
Yeah, but people don't deal with that. Chicken George Sharpton wouldn't. Queenla Harris Imhoff didn't.
Right.
Barack Obama didn't. And the first half of Joe and the Ho didn't.
Bill
So
Clinton wouldn't have.
that's who I'm talking about.
Super chat off topic, but check out Chairman Africa. He's the man on the video yelling at ICE in Newark last week. He supports Paul Bird's son. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I did a show last week. Thank you, Bernard, for that. Yeah, it had to be a turncoat nigger. A turncoat nigger.
I don't use that word.
I do. At times. So
I
yeah.
say Negro.
What is this? What is going on here? Why is this still sitting here?
What?
All right.
What's
That's
sitting
it.
there?
Oh no, it was something else. Listen, guys, I appreciate everybody for donating, most of all, more importantly, and I was supposed to promote the damn Patreon. I'll do that next video. Guys, please subscribe if you have not and hit the bell button to get all notifications. Like this video, share this video on your social media outlets. Thank you to Omar. He's a veteran Marine. He came on the show earlier to talk about Iran. And of course, Katelia and all my moderators and everybody in the chat, everybody watching on X. Love you guys.
By the way, we heard what a set of boots on the ground sounds like relative to the expedition that is being contemplated.
I insult white people too.
No, I'm talking about.
I'm talking about this shit. They said, why do you only insult black people? No, I insult white people too. I do. I'm about to.
Yeah, we insult all kinds of folks.
We insult all types of people.
Biden is an asshole.
Yeah.
Queenla is an asshole, but she's Indian. But you being an asshole is non-discriminatory. It crosses all demographic lines.
And I'm about to do 2 videos.
But you know why we talk about the Negroes? Because too many are saying because the person matches the Negro demographic, he ought to be all right. What I'd post to you is
No, we can't end the show.
No, I mean it's not short. It's not long. It's very short.
No, I said we can't end the show right now. But go ahead.
If you're in your neighborhood and you're putting together a pickup game for baseball, softball, football, basketball, you try to get the best guys on your team, not because of what their ethnicity happens to be. So if you're talking about where it's a big ethnic group, do you put the people on your team just because of their ethnicity or how well they can play? See, that's just nonsense here. When you got somebody that's dependent upon, I'm ethnic, so I'm okay, put me on. No, you're supposed to know what the hell you're doing. And when we don't, we talk about them, and we talk about them worse because they try to fall back on that garbage. And we will act as non-discriminatory, equal opportunity asshole callers and identifiers.
Right, exactly. That's well said. I like that. See,
Yeah, I thought you'd like it.
yeah, because I had to learn how to insult with that intellect behind it.
Thank you. That's why I said, let me go with this one. You like it.
Now, the show ain't over because I forgot, honey. Because I'm sorry, you get on my nerves. You don't want to sit up here and you just left. We Have Arrived podcast about Formula One. And I'm sorry, we're gonna do it this year. We are doing it because I don't want to keep adding in this show, but I'm adding in this show today so I can upload some content on that channel. So y'all gonna have
You
to
mean what Hampton is?
the show is technically over, but it's not over because we got to talk about Formula One, honey.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton.
Sir Lewis led the race for a few laps, and he was in the running for the podium. Ferrari was number 3. He was number 4 for Ferrari. Mercedes was 1. He hadn't left Mercedes since they have the hot car now. But what happened? Hello?
Yeah, I can see you.
Well, everything dropped off my screen and I got that yellow banner at the top. But anyway, we're back on. I can see. This guy is interesting. They want to badmouth him when somebody posted on X that he was the GOAT, greatest of all time. And they started talking about it was the car. Well, their candidates, okay, Verstappen had Red Bull that had some kind of advantage under that last screwed up formula over everybody. Nobody said anything about that. Nobody says anything about the guy who's tied with him for championships, Michael Schumacher, doing it all in the red in the Ferrari. He did it for McLaren and Mercedes. Now he's with Ferrari. So it spread out and he just didn't like the car. Audi came back in, but it used to be Auto Union, and there used to be only one guy, an Italian named Nuvolari, that could drive the things. He did great, and everybody else was compromised. So he just did not like the last Formula cars, the ground effect stuff, but he likes these, and I think he's going to start kicking butt, and he already did something. Out of the last 12 laps of the race, 7 of them, he was the fastest man out on the track, and he did hold the fastest lap of the race for a few laps until Verstappen put on brand new tires and set that. But he looks like he's back, so beware. He's got a car he can drive, and I think his finesse is going to work very well. He can really do race pace, even if he seems to have dropped off the map when it comes to qualifying. But did you see how Ferrari jumped from where they were to where they got to on that first lap? They've got a small turbo which spins up quickly and puts a lot of power in the internal combustion side of the power plant, which is 50-50 electric motor and gas engine. So they're going to do well on courses
But I want to play this clip here
that
because
require acceleration.
this is Lewis Hamilton, talking after the race.
Lewis, yesterday, after qualifying, you remained positive. Did you know your performance wasn't what it was yesterday? That you could show something better during the race? Yesterday, after the qualifying result, you maintain your positivity.
Yeah.
Did you know that your real potential was what you have shown today?
I think all weekend I've been really, really strong, and qualifying really didn't show the true pace. I think we had a few problems through qualifying, which meant that I was further back than I should have been. Anyways, went into today. Of course, none of us really knew what the true pace was going to be, but I felt great from the get-go, and was obviously closing the gap right at the end to Charles. A couple more laps, and I think I would have had Charles, so maybe 1 or 2 more laps. So there's lots and lots of positives to take from it. We've got a lot of work to do to catch Mercedes, but it's not impossible. So really to a big grazie a tutti to everyone back at the factory. I'm really, really proud of everybody for the work that we got, but we still got to keep pushing, keep digging deep, and I'm excited for I'll keep pushing into the next race.
I'm gonna play another clip.
Analysis: the pivoting rear wing works, the suspension works, and they're set up with the power recovery off of the rear axles is not overdone like some of the other cars and isn't causing lockup so much.
It's just a sunrise of this new era, new season.
So what?
Sunrise.
What do you mean sunrise?
When the sun is going,
sunrise.
yes, sunrise. Do you think that this gap with Mercedes is possible to close
I
it?
do.
Which
That's like I
way?
said. That's what I said. Yeah, I do believe we can close the gap. I think we've got
Oh no, I already played that one.
to get the car to. I'm really proud of the team. I think we've done an amazing job to get the car to where it is. Of course, we're not as fast as Mercedes. We've got work to do, but we're right in the fight. And you know, it was a really, really fun race, and it felt good for me. Also, you know, a couple more laps and I would have had Charles. So I had great pace. Lots and lots of positives to take from today.
Still smiling.
Yeah,
Definitely. Good. Glad to see it.
Really
Well,
proud of the team.
let me say this because he is admitting that listen, Mercedes, they have a really fast car. They do. But he came in fourth, and that is because he had a horrible qualifying because he came in seventh. And Leclerc came in third. But going into China, and the Chinese love him. They love him in China. I think he's gonna win this week. I think he's gonna win. I think Hamilton probability of winning his ninth championship this year, I'm gonna give right now 75% probability.
Yeah, it's not unrealistic. I'll say this, looking at the qualification setup, when you break it down in terms of the sectors, he went fastest in each sector compared to the rest of the drivers. It's just he didn't put it all together. And Ferrari was very disappointed in what they were doing. I want to address something that's out there. He just got where he was because of the dominance of Mercedes. Well, actually, what he did is he won one championship for McLaren. Sound familiar? They're the ones that won the championship, constructor championship last year. And he won 6 for Mercedes, and he got cheated out of a 7th one by a completely bogus call as to what was supposed to happen after a safety car that was supposed to have led everybody across the finish line. And the order that was behind the safety car was supposed to be the finish with the race, which meant he would have won 8 world championships. He didn't file a lawsuit. He probably could have won. But Schumacher won 7, 6 of them for Ferrari. He won 7, should have been 8, 7 for, or 6 for Mercedes. But then again, the best drivers tend to have the best cars. And when it comes to greatest of all time, he's tied for the number of world championships officially at 7. But he's won more races than any other driver in the entire history of the sport. He's had more pole positions than any other driver in the history of the sport. He's set more fastest laps during a race than any other driver in the history of the sport. And he's been on the podium more than any other driver in the history of the sport. So what is there not to win? The only thing essentially he has not won is being in the sport the longest. Now, Juan Miguel Fangio, who was known as the Great, the Maestro, who set his record for prominence with Alfa, Maserati, Ferrari, and Mercedes back in the 1950s. He won 43% of the races he entered in, but they had a smaller schedule. But he did not retire until after he had won his last world championship, and I think he was in his late 40s, 46 or 47, if I'm not mistaken. So Lewis Hamilton just hit 40, so he's still got a way to go, and he's in that age range where Fangio set all of his world championships to hold the record for almost 50 years. He was finally tied and eclipsed by Michael Schumacher, who's been basically paralyzed from a skiing accident, hit his head on a rock. And he still has a long time period to go with his career if he continues it.
All right. Listen, thank you guys for tuning in today. Appreciate you guys. And going forward, probably in the beginning of the show, we will do a 15-minute recap of Formula One in the beginning of the show and not the end. And sidebar, who the fuck number is area code 216-312-9458? Don't ever text my number without identifying yourself. And I'm about to block you and put you to spam. Talking about what is wrong with your nails. So I don't know who the hell this person is. I don't know anyone with a 216. I never gave anyone around here with a 216 number. And you're not a family member because you have my other cell phone number. So who the fuck is 216-312-9458? Is this a stalker? So let me take a screenshot and now I'm going to report you. Don't ever text this is for anyone. Don't ever, if you have my number, don't ever text my number without identifying yourself.
Her nails?
I don't know, but I'm not.
I can't even see your nails. What the devil is he talking about?
No, I just have blue nails, but it's a lot of fucking weirdos out here.
Maybe he's offended with the association with the Democratic Party and he's a zealot red man.
I don't know, but my thing is like I don't got time for fucking weirdos because people they dox you and look up like your number and stuff like that. So my thing is, don't you ever text me without, and this is for anybody, don't text me without identifying yourself. Like I never gave my number to anyone that has a 216. So you're not a family member because my family members with 216 have my other cell phone.
And by the way,
out of here.
Buy some barbecue sauce. It's good for this flexible weather. And it's health food. It doesn't have anything objectionable in there. You can buy it at a health food store.
That's why I put their number out there too.
Okay. Now,
all right,
we had a pretty good one today.
Say goodnight. I got where's the damn thing at the outro? Yeah, it was a good show today. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Bye.
Bye.